What's up, everybody? Welcome to Livestream. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. I don't know if something has changed. If something has changed. I've been screwing with my audio setup. But it seems like the playback in my ears is louder than it was normally. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm hyped. I am hyped. For those of you who couldn't hear the audio noise from yesterday's stream, great. You won't notice that it's gone. I left this camera view up so you can see here, right here, this right here. That is my microphone cable going to my overhead microphone here. And normally when I run cabling in my office, I like to keep it relatively neat. Despite what you may see behind my desk, relative is a relative term. I usually like to run it down along I got a big bundle of cables and some cable ties on the back of the desk so that it doesn't hang below the desk. And if I pull the desk out, it all comes with it. And I ran my mic cable in there. And apparently it is a bad idea to run your mic cable inside a big bundle of cables with a whole bunch of like power lines and USB and so forth, and it was picking up some noise. So now it is separated, and that should help with that. So good. And I was like, I can't imagine what's causing this. I've done everything right. And I was like, have I? Maybe I violated one of the basic tenets of audio system design, which is don't run long runs of parallel power and data, high frequency data, and microphone cables together. I was like, oh, how about that? Yeah, you dumbass. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, what would someone tell me if I were to hire a professional? And then sometimes already know the answer. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Blunty. Hold on one second. I have to fix something for Blunty. I've got the wrong camera selected. Start virtual camera and OBS virtual camera. There you go, Blunty. Now you have the OBS virtual camera, Blunty, but actually, oh, I see. Yesterday you couldn't see the desktop. Now you can. Yeah, you're good to go now, Blunty.
Right.
You wouldn't know. Here, hang on, Blunty.
All right.
Oh no, I found another problem. My face cam isn't working, so my green screened head cam isn't working. Oh well. Uh-oh. Now OBS is... Oh no. Now OBS is hanging. Oh, there I am. OBS glitched, but it found me. Woohoo! Well, you go away for 3 months and there's always some cricks and cracks in your back trying to get back in the swing of things. We'll get it. We'll get it, guys. We'll get it. We're good now.
That was not actually buffering. That was OBS freezing. So don't worry.
OBS froze. OBS literally froze while it was loading it had to load the NVIDIA background removal, I assume is what it was doing. And then it was like, oh yeah, no, I got that. Okay. All right. It's okay. First question of the live stream. What's the drink of choice tonight? And the drink of choice is Mutiny Island Vodka from St. Croix. Made, you can read the story. Made from breadfruit grown on the island of St. Croix. Turns out you can distill almost anything and make vodka, any fruit. Distilled from Scion Farm Distillery, St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, and imported by Virginia Beach, Virginia. That's interesting that it says imported by, because this was never imported. I imported this from St. Croix. I went to St. Croix a few months ago, and brought back some of this vodka. And I'm drinking it because I showed it on the live stream some months ago, and someone recently sent me a picture in my email. They were like, "Hey, I bought that vodka. It's really good. It's a flavor infused vodka. This is ginger and turmeric infused, and like it's really flavorful and really delicious just to drink straight or with a little bit of water, a little ice." And so that's what I'm drinking in celebration of the person who sent me that email. And also because, makes for a good live stream. Drinking from the jar? Come on now. I've got class. Oh, let's take questions. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take questions. Oh, yeah. First question is from Stephen Hendricks. Are you tired of questions about the Caddx Protos? I saw your review. I'm wondering if it may be a good fit for someone who's on a tight budget. Any other options? Here's the thing. I have to say, I don't think you should buy it. And the reason I don't think you should buy it is a couple things. It's not a bad product in isolation. Hold on one second. It's not Blunty, say something.
Hi.
There
it's
you go.
Me,
okay.
Blunty.
Thank you. I just wanted to double check I hadn't fucked something up. Thank you. It's not a bad product in isolation. The price is very competitive. It's in the $300-ish range, 300 something dollars, $350. How much is it? Let's just double check. Caddx Protos. Caddx FPV Protos drone kit. Caddx FPV. $359 if you buy it from Caddx. That's now here in the United States. Here in the United States, we have tariffs, $469. So it's hard to judge whether that's a competitive price because everything else has tariffs too, right? But I think it's way more competitive at $359 than it is at $469 or $500. But in this day and age, maybe that's a competitive price too. I don't know. You're getting a digital video system. You're getting a drone. You're getting goggles. Here's why I think that I would hesitate to recommend it. Number one, people say, oh, it's a beginner kit. It's an inexpensive beginner kit. Okay. A beginner kit ideally has room to grow. If you buy a beginner kit and it has no room to grow, then it needs to be much less expensive. Because then when you have to start from scratch, you don't feel like you've got a bad deal. If I spend $500 on this kit and I go, gosh, this is great. I love FPV. I want to buy something else. I want to buy a 5-inch drone. I want to buy a 3-inch drone. I want to buy anything except this kit over again. Now I have to start from scratch. I have to buy, well, technically, I guess this is an Express LRS hand controller. Maybe I could reuse this hand controller. Probably I could. But the goggles, there is literally no other device in the world that works with these goggles. Go ahead, Blunty.
Well, the hand controller is also, though, not Edge TX, and it's also proprietary Express LRS. Like, they didn't work with the devs to get a proper target working. So, like, I assume it works, but, like, I don't know. It's just another step in the issues.
Yes. Yeah. And even worse than that. So I have to buy a new set of goggles, starting from scratch. Presumably, I would buy Walksnail Goggles X, right? I have to buy a new drone. Okay. You have to buy a new drone anyway, but that's neither. So if I buy this, and assuming I can reuse the hand controller, which is not a given, but I think it's likely to be true. I have to buy a whole new set of goggles. And now I'm out another $500 for the goggles. Whereas if I were to buy a kit with the Walksnail Goggles L, which is the same goggles, if I buy that I don't think the Rotor Riot Pro Start drone kit is actually available anymore. But it was great while it lasted. If I were to buy, well, see, that's the problem. Here we go. If I were to buy this, here is, oh, that's analog. Okay, that's a bad choice. Well, this is, I don't know what to compare it to. I'm going to talk myself around to it being a good deal because everything else is so effing expensive. If I were to buy the goggles, the Walksnail Goggles L, how much are those? $259. If I were to buy these goggles with some other drone that has Walksnail in it and the Radiomaster Pocket for $60, I could spend about $500, make my own kit, maybe a little bit more money. I might spend a little bit more money because I gotta got batteries, I gotta buy a charger. Maybe I don't come in at $500. Maybe I come in at $600. I think you could spend $100 more and get a kit that you could actually grow with. Let's try. Let's just take one more, minute on this. We got the Walksnail Goggles L. That's $259. $260. $260. Got a Radiomaster Pocket. What's it going for these days? Terrific! It used to be $60. Now it's $85. I'm so glad that China is paying all those tariffs. China, money please, money please. $85. $85 for that Radiomaster Pocket. What drone am I going to get? That's the question. Firefly 18. That's not super comparable, but it might be comparable. That's not Walksnail. I got to get a Walksnail drone. Walksnail Avatar Nano Baby 2.0. That's semi-comparable. Here we go. The Fly Times 85 is hardly a budget option. That's pretty freaking expensive. Let's just put that on the shelf. Flywoo Firefly Nano Baby Express LRS 391. F me. The drone is going to be the freaking hard part. What is the least expensive Walksnail bind and fly you can get, guys? That's the question. Help me out, chat. What's the least expensive Walksnail bind and fly you can get? Can you get a whoop with Walksnail in it? With Walksnail Avatar, $269. Happy model bind and fly with Walksnail Avatar and Nano Cam. Okay, let's take this. Mobilite 7. Let's take this as a reference point. $269. That's painful, but plus $269, $614. You're going to need some batteries for this thing. You're going to need a charger, which is going to be like the Whoop store. You're going to need a battery for the goggles. Do they come with a battery? I don't think they do. Let's say you need another $200 generously. $150. $150 in other miscellaneous stuff. $760 compared to $500 for the Walksnail kit. So you spent an additional $250, maybe $300. But now you have a kit that you can grow into. You have a set of goggles that when you buy your next thing, right, you're not starting from scratch. Well, how is that different from buying the Caddx Protos kit and then spending $300 on a Goggles L that you can grow into? I guess you still have the price of the Radiomaster Pocket. Maybe it's more competitive than it seems. No. Here's the other kicker. Go ahead, Blunty. See what you're gonna...
The Protos also has custom firmware on it that you can't change rates on out of the box, so you have to flash a custom Betaflight hex to get access to.
And
you know,
and well, some would say that's a plus. It's easy to use. I don't have to mess with it. Here's the real kicker, though. Let's say I buy the Protos kit and I love it, and I crash my drone or crash it in a lake and lose it. You can't even buy the Protos drone by itself. You can't even buy the drone. You can only buy the kit. You can't buy spare parts at all. You will be able to eventually, I'm sure. I mean, that was the case. Let's see if it's still the case. If I go to the Caddx website and I just search for Protos. Yeah, see? All you can buy is this kit. Cannot buy spare frame. Cannot buy extra batteries. Can't buy anything. So that's the other thing. I think in 3 months, the Caddx Protos kit might make some sense. If you could buy spare parts for it, that would be the very first, like, I want to buy 3 extra batteries. Can't do it. Nope. I broke my charger. I lost my charger. Too bad. You're done. I crashed my drone. Oh, well, those goggles are trash now. Okay. If they start selling spares, that'll be the first thing that I'll look for and to say, okay, this is a step in the right direction. And then number 2, well, the growing into other things, it's not as bad of a deal as I thought, because everything is so much more gosh dang expensive than it is in my head. If you were to buy this kit yourself, you would probably spend around $700. If you could get this kit for $450, then that's the difference in price is the goggles L. You could just buy the goggles L and then start from scratch, and you basically be in the same place. So maybe that's more competitive. And then the other thing is, if when they start releasing an air unit that you could put into your FPV drone, and if when the performance of that air unit is really good, or at least half decent, that'll start, okay, now maybe it makes sense. Now I could get into this ecosystem. Today, I still think this is a no for, like, I think that if you know that you're potentially buying into a dead end and you're willing to spend that money, it's a decent product. It's a half decent product. Okay, enough said. I don't want to spend 45 minutes talking about this Protos drone, although I would.
we would never spend too long talking about one topic on this show.
Oh, hey, there's one more thing though, Blunty. Did you see Caddx made some statements on Facebook?
Oh, no.
Yeah. I don't remember where they made it. I'm gonna take 1 minute and see if I can find it. Yeah. Look at this, Blunty. Recently, the launch of Caddx Protos FPV drone RTF kit has attracted significant attention. We sincerely appreciate everybody's support. Many users offered valuable suggestions and raised questions. Why did we name it the Ascent System? Doesn't matter. What exactly is the Ascent System? It's for entry-level drones, an accessible alternative for transitioning from analog. Okay, whatever. Branding, whatever. Why develop the Ascent System? Improved power efficiency and lower cost. So their argument is that the Ascent System is inherently cheaper than the Walksnail Gen 1 system and will be a cheaper system for budget-oriented people. I'd like to point out that HD0 made a budget system and it's still compatible with all the other goggles. They didn't break compatibility, so kudos to HD0 for that. Why are the systems incompatible? Yada, yada, yada. They're incompatible because we made them incompatible because we couldn't do it any other way. We're going to develop a standalone Ascent VRX that you could use with your Goggles X, and we're prototyping a new goggle design. Now, here's what I think is funny about this, Blunty. Yesterday, when we talked about this, one of the things you and I said was Caddx has a problem with messaging. They make these decisions, they don't get the right messaging out, or they just release the decision without messaging. And the day after we bitched about their messaging being bad, they released public statements trying to clean up their messaging. And I'm not going to say that we caused that, but the timing is noticeable to me. But yeah, go ahead.
It's exactly what we asked them to do. So, I mean, kudos in that respect. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Because that's what I wanted. What is your plan, please, dear God, when you release a product? Just tell us what your plan is.
Yes.
And then don't tell us a plan that's not the plan going later, 8 months before you release a product. That's the other thing we need to work on. But hopefully we'll work on that.
And they made a case for the Ascent system. They were like, it is inherently cheaper. Okay. But being for beginners. We said, don't just tell me it's for beginners. Like, don't tell me why it's for beginners.
Yeah, I mean, is this the last slide?
Yes.
Okay. So what we didn't get here, but reading into it certainly seems like, hey, clearly this Ascent system is not the new thing. This is a beginner thing. Right? That's how it reads, right? Like you don't say that in that way, right? Because Ascent is the name of the new system. Protos was the drone.
Yes, correct.
Right? So clearly they're saying like Ascent is new and lower quality and lower heat and cheaper.
Yes.
So I don't know. To me, this would say like, but then why are you developing a VRX for it? So how many more products are going to come out?
I would bet. Well, if you say I would bet and then somebody offers you money, then you either put up or shut up. So I'm not going to say an amount. Remind me in 2 years of this clip. I think that this system is intended. I shouldn't say will, because you never know what Caddx is going to end up doing. They may think they're going to do one thing and then it doesn't work out and they go a different direction. We've seen that happen. I think that this system is intended to eventually replace the current system. I don't know what time frame that will happen on. I don't know if it will ever pan out. But I think this whole "it's for beginners" thing is pure marketing spin, and that eventually it has some other. They have some other motivation for doing this. So, they just don't want to. They don't want to say right now that eventually the Gen 1 system will go away, because
we should also be clear, as Chad is pointing out, like the first paragraph of what we have on screen right now admits exactly our problem with Walksnail.
Yes.
Which is you promise things you cannot deliver. So they sold people a goggle, Goggles X, with a bay that is meant to insert new thing in for a new system. That's why people bought it. That was the whole point.
Yes.
And then the release statement is, hey, we tried, but it didn't work.
As Madstech pointed out, if we go right now to Walksnail's page for the Goggles X, it says, in order to reduce the user's cost of HD system, we designed the upper part of the goggles to be removable, making sure the receiving module can be replaced so you can maintain the latest without replacing the goggles. It still says that, even though right here they have said, oops, sorry, that won't work. So that is not true. And I went back, Blunty, and I watched my review of the Goggles X because I wanted to remind myself what I said at the time. And at the time I said, the number one reason to buy the Goggles X over the Dominator HD is the potential and the promise that they're going to upgrade this in the future, and the Dominator goggles won't get access to the upgrade. And I said, Caddx says it's going to happen August of 2024, but we know that they often are late to the party with their own. Maybe it'll be a year, maybe it'll be 2 years. But I didn't say maybe it'll be never. And I didn't say, frankly, today I would say, because I've seen them say they're going to do something and then not do it enough times that I would be like, whatever, don't make any decisions based on their promises of future support. But at the time, this was 2 years ago, I said, well, maybe it'll happen later than they think. And I didn't say it'll never happen. So I wasn't as cynical about it as I should have been. And that is what it is. But yeah. So the Goggles X are a fine goggle. But if you bought the Goggles X on the assumption that you would get this upgrade, you got to feel really betrayed right now. So anyway. There you go. Let's take some super chats. We've had some super chats come in. Forgot to say yesterday, hey Blunty, what's up? We missed you too. Thank you, Shoot FPV, for $5. Yeah. What have you been up to, Blunty? You had 3 months with no live streams. You want to tell the people what you've been up to?
just living life pretty much. I started a local business here in my small town, doing some local tech support for different companies, doing some drone flyovers and setting up some printers. And, you know how you do when you're the techie guy at a place where nobody knows anything about tech. So it's 2025 and still nobody here has learned anything about how tech works.
Why would they? I've heard people say that people are less skilled. Children, kids these days are less skilled with tech, that tech savvy kind of peaked and then dropped off. Well, so people like you and me we have a career.
In my thought process, there was a era, right, between the mid to late 90s and between like now, where we had all these nice user features where there were one button clicks and things just installed and a lot of things worked, and you download an app and it pops up, and a lot of people live on iOS ecosystems and stuff like that, right? At some point, you stopped having to interact with the computer in a deep way to be able to do stuff. And now it's kind of come back around to a lot of times you have to interact again in a deep way to do stuff. Windows 11 has a lot of issues, as people have been keen to point out. So yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, that keeps me in business, but it is annoying.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. What antennas am I running on the GX12? These are the Nomad antennas. These are literally, I pulled them off my Nomad module. Let me fix that. There we go. So I did the mod to let me put external antennas on my GX12. And now these are the Nomad antennas because they're nominally dual band antennas. I don't know that they actually are. Someone told me that they're actually not really dual band antennas, but whatever. They say dual band on the side, so. I wish someone made a dual band antenna that was specifically designed to fit on the GX12. So like it would just sit like this and attach here. That would be amazing. I don't know that they have. Richard FPV, thank you for a $10 super chat. I'm trying to get LED strip working on the Rotor Brave FC. No LED pin exists. That's surprising. Rotor Brave F7. Let's look. Made in the USA. Made in the USA. It was made in the USA. What do we got here? Well, not there. Direct solder pin out. I'm really surprised if it doesn't have an LED pin. I mean, it seems like you're right that it doesn't. And pardon me for doubting you, but like there's a chance that you just overlooked it, and I just never like to assume. Huh. It doesn't seem to have an LED pin. A pad. And that's kind of a weird choice. Like, usually you would have one. Somewhere. But it doesn't. Okay. So what would I do if I wanted to remap? What's E5 and E6? What are E5 and E6? Are those extra motor outputs? I'm going to go on the assumption that E5 and E6 are extra motor outputs. Pit mode, user one mode. Okay. So here's what I would do. I would go in Betaflight. Wait for it. I would go in Betaflight. Oh, right. This flight controller. Sorry about the noise. Sorry about the beep. That's me, not you. That flight controller has iNav on it. Hang on. That's me. This is also me, not you. Okay. So you go to the flight controller and you type. You type resource. And then you look at the output. And what you're looking for is Resource Motor 6. Here we go. Resource Motor 6 B01. The key thing is B01. That's the pin number for Motor 6. If for some reason you don't see Motor 6, what you got to do is you got to go. Okay. You got to go into the up in there. We reconnecting? That's weird.
There's another OBS freeze because my camera froze too.
That's weird. Yeah. That's weird. Why has it done that twice now? It's pretty weird. I wonder what's going on. Alrighty. Well, anyway, we're back. Then, once you've got the pin number, resource. Did you guys see about changing the mixer, Blunty?
I'm not sure.
Okay, go to the Motors tab.
I didn't see what was frozen.
Yeah. Go to the Motors tab, and you change to a hexacopter mixer, and that forces it to have 6 motor outputs. And when you do that, then go to CLI. You got your pin number. Motor 6 or Motor 5 B00. Okay? Then you're going to type resource LED strip B00. Save. Now, B00 is your, or whatever your pin number is your LED output. And then you just do the configuration. You go to the configuration tab and you enable LED strip and you go to the LED tab and you configure your LEDs, yada, yada, yada. But you got to get that pin number and you got to pick a pin. You got to pick a pin that you're going to use. And in your case, I think it should be E5 or E6, which I'm guessing are, it says here, ESC 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm guessing E5 and E6 are your LED, are your motor outputs.
The requirement for a usable pad is it has a timer, right? I can't remember what the requirement is, but
I think it's a timer. I'm not sure if it also needs a DMA channel. I think that's only for D-Shot.
Gotcha. But motor pads are pretty much guaranteed because they have to have a timer to work. Like
for
so
D-Shot.
Yeah, that's why you can remap one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. D-Shot requires a timer and a DMA. Well, you could do bitbang DMA, but usually you would have a DMA channel. But D-Shot requires a timer. So all motor pads on all modern flight controllers have a dedicated timer, and that means they will also work for LED strip. So there you go. Hey, JB, I need your help binding a Mobula 6 to an Emax E8 ELRS. Thank you for $5 Super Chat, Fire Panda. I'm happy to help you, Fire Panda, but it's not going to be the kind of thing we're going to do on a live stream, like live help, where I just walk you through the steps. It's kind of hard to go back and forth on a live stream. And so if you want to do... Sorry, that was me again. Richard FPV, it can be any GPIO pin that has a dedicated timer. But not all GPIO pins have dedicated timers. Powered pin? No, motor signal outputs are not powered. That's complete confusion. The signal outputs don't have power.
Can you scroll down on YouTube?
Yes. I don't know why it's done that. I am scrolled down on YouTube. That's weird.
It just popped everything. Okay.
Okay. Great. So Fire Panda, I'm going to start by suggesting you check out this video, ELRS Complete Beginner Guide. It has binding instructions. Okay? I'm going to suggest you walk through that. And then if you need additional help after watching that video, go ahead and email me. And I'll do my best to figure out what's not working for you. Thank you, FlyGMP, for a $20 super chat. I built my first quad, a 5-inch Speedybee Mario 5 DC with a Speedybee F7 V3. Is the pre-installed tune in the flight controller correct? No, the pre-installed tune in the flight controller is just Betaflight defaults. It's fine. I don't think you should stress too much about it. If you just built your first quad, do not stress about PID tuning. Fly the defaults, it will be fine. Okay? That's my humble opinion about that. If you overly stress about PID tuning, the thing is, it's your first quad. You don't fly hard enough to even notice the effect of a bad PID tune. Get better at flying, and then, like if you said, "Hey Bardwell, do you want to take this race car around the track?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." And I take it out on the track and I drive it as hard as I can. And every time I go around a corner, I slam on the brakes and I oversteer and I hit the gas and I understeer and then I get back to the pits and they're like, "Man, you were all over the track." I'm like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Do you think the suspension was messed up?" I don't know. No, I'm a terrible driver. The suspension had nothing to do with it. I need to be a way better driver before I could even begin to think about whether the race car itself is the thing that's making me drive like shit. Likewise, when a beginner builds their very first drone, I'm not even saying you're a bad pilot. Maybe you're an okay pilot because you've been practicing a lot in the sim, but you don't know what a PID tune is going to do to make your quad fly better or worse because you're not an experienced enough pilot. So just go fly the thing. And after a little while of getting used to how it flies, you could start experimenting with PID tuning, and then you'd be like, I see. I never noticed that when I did this particular move, it did this thing, and now it doesn't. Until you get used to what the default PIDs fly like, though, you really don't appreciate what a PID tune is doing for you. You're just throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it sticks. So don't stress about PID tuning. Okay. You can get a better tune. The default tune is mediocre, but it's a general tune that will fly okay for a lot of different people, and you don't need to stress about making it better for a while. La Bruhaha, thank you for a $5 super chat. What are your tips for an externally mounted TXRX antennas for following a car that I'm riding shotgun in? Goggle radio mounted works, but it's so risky. Why is it risky? How far are you going to be from the car? Like, obviously, being inside the car gives you reduced range. But, like, how far are you going to be from the car that it really matters? Most people who fly from the inside of a moving car and chase the car, or maybe they're chasing a car that's just ahead of them and they're in the chase car, most people just have goggles on their head and a controller in their lap, and they're not far enough away for it to really matter. So that would be my advice to you.
General tips, I would just say, if you are going to do something like that, make sure you get good gear, because you're going to have so much loss on those cables. You got to have the right cables.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing. So you could get an antenna cable and put your antennas remote mounted on top of the car. The cables themselves have loss. So it's easy to imagine a situation where you've got a 5-foot or a 6-foot antenna cable, and that's actually more loss than the body of the car. So I wouldn't stress it.
He says, I get a half-mile till bad signal.
Do you need to be a half-mile away from the car that you're riding in? What are you doing? I mean, apparently you do. If I were really going to do that, I'll tell you what I would really do. You're not going to like the answer, but here's what I would do. Hang on. I got to look up this product. I got to find this product. Hold on. I'm sorry. It's just sit tight, guys. This is bad live stream, but I got to look up this product. Here's the product I would actually use if I wanted to sit inside a car and have my stuff on the outside. But it costs money, as usual. Okay. This is what I would use for real. This is a fiber optic transmission module. And to understand how it works, like if we zoom in, can I zoom in on this? There we go. It's not a great picture, but you'll get the gist. Ground, VCC, video, so analog video, TX and RX. What you do is you build a module. You have a TBS Fusion analog module in a 3D printed box or something like that. It's got 2 antennas on it. Okay? And you have a Radio Master module, your ExpressLRS module, and it's in the box. And you wire those things into this fiber optic module, okay? You have another fiber optic module in the car, and it spits those signals out, and they go into your goggles and into your controller. And now you have 0 loss. You could put your receiver, you could put your module and your video receiver, your TBS Fusion, you could put them 2 kilometers away with a long enough length of fiber with 0 loss. I would buy one of these. This is $15, $16 for one. You actually need a pair. You need a pair. I think the pair is not fit. Pair is, one of them is $16. A pair is $72. Tell me how that math works. This is what you need though. And then you need a length of fiber. Now, if you're just inside a car, you get a 10-foot length of fiber. Maybe you get a nice jacketed fiber so it's not really fragile. And then you have to build a little standalone box that mounts on the roof of the car. And it's got your analog receiver module and your Radio Master ExpressLRS module or whatever you're using. And they wire into this. And then this wires into the back of the module bay on the controller and into your goggles. And bing, bang, bong, 0 loss. That's the actual way I would do it.
Other solution somebody in chat mentioned was you could mount the VRX outside of the car and then run an HDMI cable in. Somehow.
Well, or just an AV cable, a 3
Right.
point, just an RCA cable. So if you didn't care, okay. So leave it to me to do the most technologically complicated way. Frankly, if you're just trying to go 6 feet, what you could probably do is get a length of Cat6 Ethernet cable, connect the video wire to one of the pairs, and connect the TX and the RX. Literally, you're not doing Ethernet. You're just using it as a nice compact length of cable. And you connect power, ground. You got 8 pairs, or you got 4 pairs, 8 wires. Power, ground, video, TX, RX, etc., right? And you literally just run that 6-foot length of cable inside the car, basically 0 loss. But the downside is that those signals are not meant, especially the TX and the RX, they're not meant to go that long. And that cable, if it gets more than, I don't know how long, maybe 6 feet would be okay though. So you could skip the whole fiber optic bullshit. Although, why would you want to? Fiber optic is cool. But you could probably just do that with a length of wire. But the key thing is you're not extending the antenna cables. You're putting the receiver and the transmitter outside the car, and you're extending the crossfire signal and the video and the CVBS video signal and the power and the ground so that you're not getting any loss. But I would do it with fiber optic cable. Because then, theoretically, I could put this thing 1,000 meters away if I wanted to. And that something about that just makes my little heart go pitter patter. So even check this out. Look at this. There's a version that has HDMI. Shut up. You got an HDMI in, you got a crossfire, or you got a UART in, basically. It can be crossfire or S-bus. So you got your control link and you got HDMI, and then it spits it out the fiber and it comes out the other side. You could do this with a digital system. That's hot. That's hot. $100. I don't know. Something about that just appeals to me. All right. Yeah. Nuclear Squirrel, thank you for a €5 super chat. Any thoughts on the RATE FPV04 air unit 145 degree FOV adapter and CNC housing on AliExpress? No opinion. I have not tried it. If I had to go that direction, I know that Flywoo and RunCam are releasing something, and just based on their history, I would feel confident going with it. The RATE one may be fine, but it's probably not that expensive, I guess. $145. Oh, the page is not available. How can I find this thing? RATE FPV. Nope. 145. Nope, can't find it. Well, can't comment on it if I can't find it. I was going to show it on the stream, but I can't find it. So, O4 Lite Air Unit case. How about this? Nope. All right, I give up. How much better is DJI over the rushtank 1.6 watt VTX for range? Thank you for 10 Canadian dollars. Are the default antennas on the GX12 sufficient for the DBR4 dual band ELRS receiver? The range you're going to get off a 1.6 watt analog VTX depends heavily on the antennas and your overall setup. There are people who will go 10 kilometers on 25 milliwatts. They are not normal. Okay? Most people, if they just slap some average, shitty, or even good, if you just slap some antennas on your goggles and you slap a 1.6 watt VTX in your drone, you're going to get 3 to 5 kilometers before you give up and come home. Now, a true long-range pilot will push through the static and get further, right? In my experience, if you just get a DJI O4 Air unit with the DJI Goggles 3 and you put it in the air, I've done some tests, some range tests with it where I fly a waypoint mission and the drone flies out until I lose video and then back. Hypothetically, I've done that because if I were to fly until I couldn't see the drone anymore, that would violate FAA regulations. So, of course, I would never do that. But hypothetically, if I had done that, I got about 2 kilometers of range, which, again, there's long-range people who say, oh, I could get 20 kilometers off the DJI Air unit. Yeah, well, I'm sure you can. But, I think the DJI would beat a typical analog system under I just slapped it together and put it in the air and I didn't think too much about it situations. I think that analog clearly wins under I'm doing everything I can to extend the range of the system, especially if you're willing to put high gain antennas on the analog receiver, which is more difficult or impossible to do on the DJI because the Goggles 3 don't have removable antennas. You can open them up and you can crack the antennas off, but most people aren't going to do that. So, I think under most situations where you don't try very hard, the DJI will win. Especially in internal environments where you're flying inside a bando or behind obstacles, DJI tends to beat analog. In open space, just flying away from yourself in the sky, I think they're going to be pretty close. I think analog has much higher potential to go further, much easier, if you're willing to put a little bit of work into it. So there you go. Oh, are the default antennas on the GX12 sufficient for DBR4 dual band? The thing is, the default antennas on the GX12, if you're yes, they're sufficient, but you're going to get better range with external antennas. So do the external antenna mod. Radio Master sells a kit to put SMA connectors on it. You can see here, I've got SMA connectors on here, or RPSMA, I think. And then get some external antennas. The thing is, if you want dual band antennas, only Radio Master makes them. So it would be better to get single band antennas and if you care about range, just do 900 megahertz. Don't do dual band. But if you're going to do dual band antennas, that's the way to do it. My whoop randomly elevates, says Teddy Tuned. Thoughts? Oh, I skipped one. I'll get it. Thank you, Teddy Tuned, for $2. I don't know what that means, Teddy. My whoop randomly elevates. I need more information, Teddy. That's not gonna be enough for me to really speculate on. Metalcraft, thank you for $5. Do you know anywhere to get tall, skinny motors for 3D, like 2010s, or if you have another suggestion, got the 3D. Why do you want tall, skinny motors for 3D, Metalcraft? Why do you think that tall, skinny? Because they reverse speed easier, because they're narrower? They're going to heat up a lot, though. No, I don't know where you could get those. I mean, Teddy, or Metalcraft, what I would do, and I'm sure you've done this, but I'll just humor me. 2010 motor. FPV, drone. Let's see what we got. Nah. Nope. And nobody's making them. VC. Oh, here we go. You want the Zoe motors. I see. Well, Fly High FPV has the Zoe motors available right now. 2, 3, 4. Add to cart. That's where you get them. Review cart and check out. $90. Boom. Enjoy. The power of Google. Thank you for your $5 super chat. I Googled that for you. There you go. 1911 kV. Oh, that's not for 4S though. Why don't fly 4S? Fly 6S. Yeah, this is the only motor like this. I think the theory is that it's a narrower motor, so it reverses speed faster. You know? Okay. I'm not sure if that's BS or marketing or fact, but there you go. All right, we're caught up on Super Chats. Yay me. Oh my God. There's a lot of questions. Let's get them. Let's get them. Let's start banging them out. Oh. Let's see here. What's your take on Blantons, JB? I don't like Blantons that much. It's okay. It's not my favorite bourbon. I recently got a Vision 40 and I was thinking of building a 5-inch drone. Should I build a 4S or a 6S? 6S, no question. 6S, no question. Don't even bother with 4S on 5-inch today. Are AliExpress all-in-one DIY drones good enough to start on FPV? Most of those AliExpress DIY drone kits are super cheap because they are tailored for people who fly them once and then never fly them again. Wink, wink, wink. Why would you do that? Because the intent is that they're going to take off, they're going to fly for a while, and then they are going to crash into something, and that's going to be the end of them. So if you buy one of those kits, it probably won't be a total waste of money, but the overall durability and longevity, you need to be aware that they're not designed for longevity. Okay? You think they will stock up on DJI O4 before Christmas here in the USA, June Loco? I mean, I'm sure that vendors are doing everything they can to get a hold of DJI O4s. Just recently, Get FPV and Race Day Quads had a batch of O4s. Also, Rotor Riot had a batch of O4s. It's probably not a coincidence that they all kind of had them at the same time, and they sold out in 20 minutes. Like, literally, I would see a post, hey, Rotor Riot has O4 air units 20 minutes ago, and then they would just be sold out. So, like, I don't know if you're aware of this, but stores like selling things, and they don't like it when they don't have things to sell. So I think these manufacturers these stores would be getting O4 air units to sell if they could. And so I assume that the fact that they don't have them means they can't get them. Or they can't get them at a reasonable price. Will they stock up on DJIs before Christmas? If they can. Who knows? What did you say, Blunty?
Next restock is in 3 weeks. That's what everybody's saying. So.
Well, there you go. Guess they would know. I'm staying hydrated. I don't know if you can tell. Could we get an analog for dummies video explaining what's compatible with what? Hey, I'm lost in all the frequencies, modules, and brands. Hey, good news, Pit Bike. It's all compatible. So the only potential incompatibility would be if your video transmitter and your video receiver were on a different frequency. But the good news is that almost all FPV video transmitters are on 5.8 gigahertz, and almost all video receiver modules are on 5.8 gigahertz. In other words, if you didn't explicitly buy a 1.3 gigahertz video transmitter, it's 5.8 gigahertz. So basically, unless you really try, anything you buy is going to be compatible. Good news. Right? Like FPV video transmitter. That's all I typed. All of these. Okay, hang on. Analog. There we go. All of these are compatible. Every single one of them. All of them. Okay, here we go. Avatar HD Pro Kit. That's not analog. You have to be smart enough to go, oh wait, no, that's not analog. All right? You gotta pay a little attention. All of this shit, if it doesn't say walk snail or doesn't say DJI or HD0, it's analog, and it's almost certainly 5.8 gigahertz.
It can kind of be confusing because you've got a set of frequencies that you can use, right? And so sometimes you're going to see like, oh, this can only use these, or this can only use these, or this has 40 channels, or this is 80 channels.
Yeah.
None of that really matters because you're going to be able to get on the same channel between your receiver and your transmitter on analog. They are always compatible, basically. No, even if they can only do like 3 of the bands, like they'll still be able to do 8 channels on each of the bands.
So, for example, and Blunty, I don't know if it's you or me, but your audio is crackly. I don't know what's doing that. Well, maybe you should. I should hang up and call you again or something. I don't know. We got internet-based garble though, not your microphone. Yeah. So like you may see a video transmitter and it says it supports 82 channels. There's this set of channels that all of them will support, and then some of them support more. Which, if you care about those extra channels, then maybe it would matter, but they'll be compatible. The other thing I want to point out is, look here. Matec 6 MLRS 2.4 gigahertz TX module kit. Do you see that this says, oh, you can't read it. It's too small. 2.4 gigahertz. This is not compatible. This is 900 megahertz module kit. I don't know what this is, but it says 2.4 gigahertz. This is not even a video transmitter. This is not a video transmitter. So yeah, this is just slipping in here, but it's not even a video transmitter. So great. Don't buy that. So all you really need to care about is that everything you buy, all your video transmitters, your receiver, and your antenna do 5.8 gigahertz analog video. And if they don't say, then probably that's what they do. Like right here, TBS Fusion goggle receiver module. And you got to look down here to see that the frequency, you can't see it. The frequency says 5.8 gigahertz, but you just assume, you can almost just assume that it's 5.8 gigahertz. Okay. If I just type FPV antennas, all of them are going to be 5.8 gigahertz unless they say otherwise. What about my search term? Antennas. Oh, I need goggle antennas. Let's see. Helicopters, FPV gear, VRX and goggle modules, antennas, 5.8 gigahertz. See, that's what you want. 5.8 gigahertz antennas. Okay. And then I guess you got left hand and right hand polarization. Yeah. So for analog, you're going to want to match your polarization. You're going to want to buy right-hand polarized antennas. Oh, see, here's a left-hand polarized antenna, LHCP. Here's RHCP. So when you buy antennas, they have to match frequency and polarization. Okay. So I proved myself a little bit wrong because I said all you had to care about was the frequency. I guess they have to match the connector too. Your video transmitter is going to have either a UFL, an MMCX, or an SMA connector. Probably not an SMA. You have to buy it with a compatible connector. Here's a UFL connector, and it might have an MMCX connector. Here's an MMCX connector. So you just got to buy the connector that's on your VTX. Okay, there's a little more to it. I take it back. All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful.
Test. Is this
There
any
you go.
better?
Yes, 100%.
Wonderful.
Somebody said Blunty sounding like RFK. That's actually exactly what you were sounding like. Let's see here. Do you think Orqa will ever release their digital system to the public? I don't think they'll ever release their digital system. I don't think they've released it to the private. Never mind the public. I don't know. I think Orqa has moved away from FPV hobbyists. Orca's trying to sell to the government, the military, etc. They're trying to get those big contracting dollars. So they've got their Orqa Iron Ghost. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. They've got their Iron Ghost system. Oh, well, I can't find any documentation about it. How about that? Let me search for their NDAA components. So they've got this NDAA stuff. That basically means we're going for the U.S. government. Here's an NDAA flight controller, an NDAA ESC, their Pro FPV goggles, and they got a hand controller as well. I don't know how much of this stuff they've actually put on their website versus stuff that I've seen because I know people who are in the industry. I don't think they're going for FPV hobbyists anymore, though. That's the bottom line. Here's a message from Madstech. Good to see you in the chat, sir. About Caddx. We simply cannot believe a word they say. It's all about trust, and they broke the promise on so much. How can we believe anything they say about Ascent? Yeah, I feel that way. And I like to say Caddx have done many of the things they said they were going to do, and they have done many things that they didn't tell us they were going to do. They just did them, and they're good things. Okay? But there are too many things that Caddx has said, oh, we're working on this, and then they weren't. I used to know a guy, and maybe you've known a person like this, that whenever I talk to him, oh, I'm working on this new garden. I'm putting a garden in. Oh, I'm redoing the sidewalk outside my house. Oh, I'm putting new drapes in my living room. Oh, I'm remodeling my bedroom. I'm putting a new engine in my car. Every time I talk to him, there were 3 new projects he was working on, some new business venture. He constantly, and eventually I realized that what he meant was, I thought about doing this for 5 minutes. And I think that he sincerely intended to do many of these things. And some of them he did. Some of them he even finished. Some of them he started and didn't finish. Some of them he never even started, as far as I could tell. But when he talked about them, oh yeah, I'm working on this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And at first I was like, oh cool, you're putting a new garden in? That's cool, tell me about it. Let me help. And then I realized he didn't mean it. I couldn't assume that he meant any of it. He just liked to say things. And I think Caddx is kind of like that. Like right now they said, we have a prototype for a new goggle that has, by we have a prototype for a new goggle, they mean this morning I decided I was going to make a new goggle and I spent 10 minutes on the toilet thinking about what it would look like. And then they put out we have a prototype of a new goggle. So, and once you know that, you can filter everything they say through that lens, and ultimately their product line is still worth having. You just gotta know when you meet somebody like Caddx that when they say, oh, we're working on a video transmitter with HDMI input, you can't go, oh, that's cool, when can I have it? You gotta go, cool. And then you just gotta put that out of your mind. What can I buy today? Everything they say about the future, you got to take it with a big old grain of salt. And once you know that, you can deal with it. Clive Hunt says, I have a new AT32 flight controller and I can't find the driver. Absolutely. Before I just Google, a lot of times you can find this shit on the front page of the Betaflight. Hey, Betaflight devs, add the AT32 drivers to the Betaflight configurator front page. You got the you got the frickin' CP210 drivers that no one's used for 5 years, 10 years. For legacy hardware, no one uses that. CP210 drivers. Where's the STM32 drivers? You don't have those. And you don't have the AT32 drivers. Okay, well, fine. AT32 driver. I search. I click. I find. That's not where. Well, I was about to be like, all I had to do was search. I have what video did I make where I showed how to download and install the AT32 drivers? Oh man. I did it. Oscar Li-ion, save me now. Boom. Installing drivers. Come on, buddy. Save me, Oscar Li-ion. Here we go. You can get it from Oscar Li-ion's page. Oscar Li-ion's AT32 page. Visit MCU page. Boom. That's where you need to download it from. I'll put that in the chat for you. This is Clive Hunt. Here you go, Clive. There's a download. Can I run 5-inch props on my 2006 motors? 1950 kV, 3.5-inch prop. 1950 kV on 6S is the correct kV for a 5-inch prop. It actually feels like too low of a kV for a 3.5-inch prop. Nevertheless, 2006 is a bad choice for a 5-inch prop. I don't think the motor will immediately explode, but 2006 is too small for a 5-inch prop, I'm afraid. I wouldn't recommend it.
In that case, it basically either fails to deliver torque or gets too hot, right?
Yep. It will be under torqued because it's too small, and it will heat up and not be able to dissipate the heat. The other thing is, like, what's the prop mounting on a 2006 motor? I assume it's T-mount. So I'm just looking for random 2006 motors, and they're all T-mount. So you're going to have to find a 5-inch T-mount prop, which is going to, it's not impossible, but it's going to be tricky.
Yeah, I believe it's that Speedybee motor because he's got a B35.
Yeah. That's not a big enough motor for a 5-inch prop. It's close. I think if you were very, very gentle. But the other thing is, what size is the motor shaft? If it's got a 2mm shaft, that's going to, the prop alone is going to severely increase the likelihood of bending the motor shaft. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that information. Shaft diameter, 1.5mm. Is that, no, that's the T-mount shaft, though. That's the prop shaft, not the actual motor shaft, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so we don't know what the motor shaft is. The motor shaft could be a 3mm shaft. It's not, it's hard to say. Can we see maybe? No, it's a, oh, well, that screw might indicate it's a 3mm shaft. It's hard to say. An M2 screw. That might be a 3mm shaft. Okay. This motor might just barely get away with running a 5-inch prop. But it's going to get hot. I don't think it's a good idea. But it's not the worst idea I've ever heard. You might get away with it. But I think you're going to kill the motor. I actually think you're going to kill the motor. This is the bottom line. Let's do some more super chats. Pink Mohawk, thank you for $20 super chat. What would be the reason I would need to use... Oh, hang on. Crom points out that 2004 is the smallest size I've managed to run a 5-inch on. That's the 250 spec, and it needs to be light as fuck. Yep. So a 250 can run a 5-inch prop on a 2004 motor, but it's 250 grams, and it's so light you get away with it. If you built an ultra light 5-inch, like 300 grams, that 2006 motor would probably be okay. Okay, Pink Mohawk, thank you for a $20 super chat. What would be the reason I would need to use Impulse RC Driver Fixer every time I connect a different quad to my PC? They've already been flashed and flown. Yeah, your PC's drivers are getting screwed up. I don't know what causes that, but it's your computer and your computer's drivers, not your drone. Unfortunately, I've seen this happen rarely, and it's something about the computer, but I have no idea what it is and how to fix it. It's rare and it's not normal.
If you know a little bit about computers, you might go try deleting your COM ports in the driver manager, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Not sure. Idiocracy.
Device manager. Jesus, I can't think today. Yeah, I've done it before where I've been able to delete all the COM ports and the DFUs, and then it works. The other thing I'll tell you, if you really care to dig into this and you know some stuff about computers, this is you pay a little bit of money. So you do not download this and use this unless you know what you're doing. PSA. Okay, Zadig is very helpful, because Zadig will tell you what's going on. It doesn't just fix it. It tells you what's wrong. So if you open Zadig and then you do the drop down with the devices and you pick the device that it is, it will tell you what driver is installed there while it's not working. Yeah. And then you can sort of get an idea of, like, is this some other program that's taking over it? Is it like a bad Windows driver? Like something like that. And that will help you narrow down maybe what's going on.
Yeah. I had the same driver issue. I was running Windows 7. Upgrade your PC. Yeah, wonder what OS you're running. Is it Windows 7? That's your problem. Yeah. Is 7-inch as a first drone a good idea? Thank you for $2 Canadian. I like speed. It's not the best idea. I would recommend a 5-inch, but if you're safe to fly a 5-inch, you're probably safe to fly a 7-inch. I wouldn't go any bigger than a 7-inch. If you like speed, a 5-inch is potentially going to be faster than a 7-inch because the props are moving at a higher RPM and it has smaller surface profile, so it has less drag. 7 inches are good for lifting weight and endurance, and 7 inches can go fast, but out of the box, I would actually think a 5-inch would go faster than a 7-inch at top speed. Yeah. It depends on the KV of the 7-inch motors. Is actually the bottom line. Yeah. Scott Perry, thank you for a $5 super chat. Looking at getting a TX15, will Boxer models transfer over without issue? I wouldn't assume so. It depends on the switch layout. You can try. If you actually save the model and open up the file, it's like an XML file. You've heard of people manually modifying the XML file to change the switch names. That's a little bit challenging, but it is doable. But I wouldn't assume that the models will just transfer over without issue. How do I get involved with drone racing? Where do I find a group to race with? Thank you for $5. Heart of America. If you go to the internet and search for Multi-GP Drone Racing League, go to the chapter map. It's right here. First link, chapter map. Then go to where you are. I am in Knoxville, Tennessee. Oh, look, there's a chapter. Let's try something else. I am in Louisville, Kentucky. Oh, okay. There's, yeah.
Someone recently pointed out the big gap in West Virginia over there. I was like, most places in the U.S. have something, and then there's just like nothing in that whole area.
Yeah, well, what do you think's caused of that?
I don't know. I just saw it, and I'm like, that's a weird big old gap in there.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, there aren't a ton of like big towns right here. It's just like national forest and mountains. So like, but even if you look at like Highway 81 going up, you got Lynchburg, Roanoke. There's not a lot. In fact, Northern Virginia also kind of doesn't have a lot, does it? There's like nothing here in Virginia until you get up to Washington. That's kind of weird. I mean,
somebody start a chapter.
That's weird. Virginia is like Richmond. This isn't Northern Virginia. This is, I guess, Southern Virginia technically. Virginia Beach, Norfolk.
Multi GP is in the chat. Says hit us up, West Virginia.
Yeah. Anyway, go to the chapter map. Look at the world and go to where you are, and find your nearest chapter. Now, like, let's say I'm here in Milan. Well, Milan to, where is this? Caluso. Milan to Caluso. Well, that's an hour and a half. F you. Drive an hour and a half. You're trying to go to a race. Suck it up. Right? So you click on the chapter. Here's the chapter. You click races. Oh. Nope. These guys are basically dead. Oops. So that's the other thing. You got to check the chapter. Okay, fine. So here I am in Milan. I'm looking for a race. How about Genoa? 6 members. Races. Oh, no. See, a lot of these chapters are dead. That sucks. How about Modena? Races? Nope. Seasons? Nope. Okay. Well, you're screwed. Here's the next thing I would do. I would go to Facebook. One second. Let me switch profiles so you can't see what my family has been up to. My sister's birthday, etc. I'll switch to my public profile.
Real quick, multi-GP in the chat says, we are working on clearing out the dead chapters. I would also say, if you could do some kind of filter on the map, where the map would show you like recent races and maybe color or like size the chapters based on when the last race they had is or something, you know, that might be nice just to filter quickly and go, who's actually active near me?
Yeah, true. The other thing is, even if the chapter is dead, it can be worthwhile to reach out to the chapter organizer because a lot of times they'll still have connections. But I'm going to go to Facebook and type Milan, Italy, FPV. Well, here's Massimo Martini in Italy. Okay. So, like, I don't know who this guy is. Sorry, Massimo. I don't know who you are. Lives in Florence, Italy. And I'm just going to start messaging these people. Right? Can I message him? I don't see the option to message him. I can follow him. All right. He's such a big shot. I can't. I can even search for groups. Milan, Italy, groups. Right? Italy FPV. Right? Groups. Nope. All right. Well, Italy's boned. But you see the approach I'm taking. You're going to try to find a multi-GP chapter. You're going to try to find a Facebook group. And you're just going to have to put out threads and network. Right? Connor Blatz is in Florence. Okay, Connor Blatz. Can I message you? Right? Lives in North Carolina. Oh, well, that's a dead end.
The other thing to remember is, like, if you make a post, then in the next month, maybe somebody else will be searching that, and then they'll find it, right? Or if you start a group, then somebody will find that group name when they're searching, and then they'll reach out to you.
That's the other thing. If you live in bumfuck USA and there's no FPV pilots within 10 miles or 100 miles of you, go to Facebook, make a new group, Bumfuck USA FPV Drone Racing. You're the administrator of the group. It's one of one. And 6 months from now, somebody in the next town over is going to be like, hey, are you in Bumfuck USA? I fly FPV. It may take 6 months for them to find you, but at least, you're out there for them to find. So that's the other thing. Start a multi-GB chapter. It's just you. But at least then somebody can find you potentially. So anyway, that's how I'd approach that. Mishmash 4891, thank you for a $5 super chat. I installed RC and Power 2207 GTS 2180 kV on my 5-inch 6S. I'm getting rebounds after stopping rolls and flips. Yeah, well, it's a massive kV. You probably need additional D gain. Raise your D gain if you have rebounds. Raise your D gain and or lower your P gain. That's how you deal with that. The short version. Start by raising D gain until you start to get hot motors, then don't go any further. Scott Perry, thank you for a $5 super chat. Building a 6S 1P 21700. Will 10 millimeter by 0.15 millimeter copper strip work for 60 amp burst draw? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. Cross-sectional copper wire when the DC. Copper strip DC current calculator 21700. How much current can copper strip handle provided length and width? Trace width calculator. Fuck yeah. Current. What do we got? 60 amps. Define burst. I don't like burst. 25 amps. Thickness. 0.15 millimeters. Optional inputs. Temperature rise 10 degrees Celsius. Sure. Trace length 1 inch. Well, it's a 6S 1P. But you're only going between two of them. So 21700 diameter, it's 21 millimeters, right? Yeah, it's 21 millimeters. So you're nominally, let's say you're going 25 millimeters between one to the other. But then you're going to go there. So should it be the entire length? No, I'm going to just put 25 millimeters. Because then it's going to go through the battery. And the battery has its own internal resistance. So we'll leave that. Required trace width, 608. I'll change the millimeters. 15 millimeters. So according to these parameters, temperature rise of 10 degrees Celsius, you need 15.5 millimeters. Yours is 10 millimeters. That's not wide enough. And that's for 25 amps. It sounds like that's not wide enough. Internal. Oh, that's for internal layers. Sorry. Scratch that. Required trace width 5.94 millimeters. You're good. This is external layers in air. You're good.
Well, it's not. Is it in air? Is it not in air? Are we talking about internal inside of a copper? Are we talking about between silicon? Or are we talking about inside of a pack that's sealed?
It's in a, so there's heat shrink over it. It's a 6S 1P. So it's going to be just at the end of the cell with heat shrink over it. So the heat shrink is going to have some effect. But like, I think if he requires 6 millimeters and he's got 10 millimeters, I think he's good for 25 amps continuous, I would say. The other thing I'm not sure about is, no, because it's going to go across the copper strip and then down through the battery and then across the copper strip and up through the battery. That's not the total length of the copper strip. Is it? Maybe it is. So if it's
Yeah, it would be
6S1P,
right.
then that's... Hang on. 21 millimeters times 5. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So it's a total of 105 millimeters of copper, roughly.
Wait, are you...
If it's 105 millimeters of copper, it still says 5.94 millimeters. Do I need to hit calculate? Why is the trace width not changing? Trace length. Why is the trace width not changing at all?
Okay, is that an enterable value? And then it gives you the voltage drop over that distance and the power loss over that distance?
No, 5.99 millimeters. It's not updating.
Huh.
Why is it not updating? Why is it not updating? It should update based on the trace length. No, it updated when I changed the thickness. It didn't update.
Is that all that matters, though?
Well, it's the total cross-sectional area. You know, because like obviously the length. Oh, you know what, Blunty? Maybe it's independent of length because as it gets longer, it also has more surface area to dissipate the heat.
Yeah. Like it's over distance.
Oh, interesting. So the trace thickness is the only thing that matters?
You can tell we're electrical engineers, by the way. Just for...
I mean, that's why I'm using this stupid calculator.
Yeah.
Okay, so with 0.15 millimeter thickness, 25 amps you need. So how many amps can we carry with a 10 millimeter? So about 36 amps. Apparently, according to this calculator, with a 10 millimeter wide strip, you're good for about 36 amps continuous. I mean, I'd take that to the bank, right, Blunty? Take that to the bank. Is the chat... I guarantee you there's people in the chat who know a lot more about building battery packs than I do. Are they telling me that I'm way off base? Or are they like, yep, the Bardwell's got it? Oh, my God. Close this. Okay. Well, you spent $5 for my opinion, and I think you got at least $5 worth. Hope that was helpful. What kV motors should I use for a fast 6S 7-inch? 1900 kV. Your flight time will be short, but it'll hum. You get around 1300 kV for a cruiser. Around 1600 kV for sort of split the difference. And if you get into the 1900 kV range, that 7-inch will be a monster. Bryce Miller, thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm building a Grinderino with the Xnova 1804s 3500 kV and GemFan 3630s. My flight controller ESC stack came with an XT30. Is that big enough? Need an XT60? The answer to that question is always look at your battery. What battery are you going to use? Does it come with an XT30 or an XT60? Because the battery always comes with a connector that is big enough to handle the current that the battery is capable of providing. Okay? So if the battery you're going to use comes with an XT30, you're fine to keep the XT30 on your quad as well. If the battery that you're going to use comes with an XT60, then you should not change it to an XT30 unless you know for a fact that you're using, like, let's say I have a battery and it's a high power drone racing battery and it's got an XT60 on it because it can push 60 amps, 80 amps. And I know for a fact that I'm only ever going to use it to power my goggles and pull 1 amp. Well, if I wanted to, I could downsize that connector and I would just have to remember never to use this battery on a drone. But in general, if the battery comes with an XT60, you want to use it with an XT60. If it comes with an XT30, you're fine to use it with an XT30. Going back to the questions. Blunty, who in the Discord was asking, can I see the queue, as Bardwell got my question queued? If there's a... What's that?
Single Discord. There's one Discord question queued.
Right here, Skater King. Okay. The people in the Discord join my Patreon. They are my patrons. They pay me every month, even if it's just a couple dollars. It still matters. And we're going to prioritize this question from Skater King. Is Skater King still here? Discord, wake up. Huh. My browser is freezing up. There we go. Oh, no. Oh, well. Discord does not like this. Ah! Oh, Skater King's here. Fantastic. Skater King asks, what's the cheapest worth getting analog ELRS 2.5-inch cinewhoop on the market right now? And where's the best place to get it? If you have one, would you be interested in selling me a Cinelog 2.5? Do I have a Cinelog 2.5? Hold on. What have I got? Cinelog 2.5. I don't have a Cinelog 2.5. Oh, you want analog, though. Oh, no. I don't have analog. Come on. Oh, just a trash. No, I'm joking. I have analog. I have a DJI O4 Flylens 85. That's not what you asked for. No, I do not have it. Cinelog 2.5 is a great drone. It may not be the cheapest. Highly recommend if you decide to do that. Decide to get that. Let's see if we can find something cheap. Darwin FPV Cineape 2.5. 227. That's a good Express LRS. Out of stock. PNP no receiver. Out of stock. Damn. Darwin FPV makes okay stuff and not too expensive. I just buy it from Darwin FPV, but you're going to pay freaking import fee. Analog, got it. You're going to have, okay, analog, so you're going to have to put your own receiver on it. I'm sorry, PNP. You're going to have to put your own receiver on it, but that's not the end of the world. It doesn't come with a receiver. Analog, oh, no, hang on. Analog with 2.4G BNF. Bingo. There you go. $200. That's what I would buy. Darwin FPV Cineape 2.5. $200 with a receiver. As soon as, here's the problem. Tariff stuff. Flexport.com. Tariff simulator. Drone. Unmanned aircraft. Other for remote control flight over with maximum takeoff weight not more than 250 grams. Here's the harmonized tariff code. It's coming from China. And 55% duty rate. So that $200 drone is going to be $300. But here's the thing. So can you find one that's already in the U.S. for less than that? Yes, Blunty.
Also, it depends on where you order it. Because like some places will have like a different way to get it in the country, so you're not paying proper tariff rate, just to be clear.
That is, it's hard to know in advance whether that's the case, though.
Well, a lot of them have like a tariff guarantee. Like when you order from, I think Flywoo was doing that for a while, and then a couple other places where you like pay a fee, and they charge you a flat fee, and then that's what you're going to pay. And then they guarantee, they like guarantee you're going to pay that, and then they send it in somehow. So
here's the problem with that. I mean, obviously, if they make you a guarantee, that's one thing. I have done purchases before where it's called DDP, direct something paid. And basically you pay the tariff at the time of purchase, and then you don't have to go through any customs bullshit. When it hits customs, it just comes straight through and comes to you. But the problem is if I buy something DDP right now, it's going to be based on a 55% tariff. If it takes 2 weeks for them to process the order and ship the order, and it hits the shore, and in that time, the person in the White House decides that he doesn't like China and imposes a 100% tariff, which is something that is threatened, that DDP is not going to hold. You're going to end up being on the hook for the remainder. So So, you could try to do that and it may work out okay, but it may not. It's not guaranteed. But yeah, no, I would always rather do it tariff prepaid, so at least there's no surprise.
Yeah,
But like,
my understanding is
yeah, go ahead.
Is the way some of these companies are doing it are just mislabeling the product to get it in, charging you a flat fee, and then handling it. So you're not going to get surprised with a tariff fee because they're not going to pay a tariff fee.
They're declaring the wrong amount, or they're wrong.
Correct.
The wrong tariff.
Correct.
Well, that's between you and them.
Yeah. Like, that's my understanding of what's happening anyway.
Yeah. What a world we live in. So this Darwin FPV drone is going to be about $300 after you pay the tariff. If you can find something better, like I was just trying to look, 2.5-inch cinewhoop. What do we got? Can I just search for in stock only? Ooh, Speedybee 2.5. That's a frame kit only. Skip that. Axis Flying Cineon. Oh, that's clearly not analog. Pavo 2.5 analog. Not in stock. Hey, Get FPV. Why can't I search for in stock only? Get FPV's website is really... The search function is really not good. Like all this shit, none of it's in stock. Which of it is in stock? I don't know. Out of stock, out of stock. This one doesn't say out of stock. But it's not in stock. Whereas these other ones say out of stock. Why does that one not say out of stock? I don't know. All right, that's as much time as I want to spend on this. Hopefully that was helpful. Yeah. Leo desperately wants someone to respond to his question. If I buy the Literadio 2 SE, the Meteor 75 Pro, Beta FPV VR03, etc., is it a good combo? Everything you put there is okay, except don't buy the Literadio 2 SE. That's terrible. It's a terrible product. Don't buy it. Do not buy the Literadio. Absolutely do not buy it. Buy the Radio Master Pocket instead. The Beta FPV VR03 goggles are not very good, but they're also not very expensive, and it's not like a do not buy. If you could spend a little more money on goggles, it would be a good idea, but if you're not sure, if you're on a budget, if you're just getting into the hobby, okay, the VR03 goggles get a pass. The Meteor 75, I would not get the Meteor 75 Pro. I would just get the standard Meteor 75. The Meteor 75 Pro has I think it has the bigger props, doesn't it? Is that the one where they go to bigger props? And it's a weird prop size and it kind of flies bad. Yeah, it goes to the GemFan 45mm props. I would just get the standard Meteor 75 instead of the Meteor 75 Pro. It flies better. So that's my advice. The Whoop Store is a definite buy. The Literadio, do not buy. Absolutely do not buy. Macy Jursiak asks, why should I sorry about my pronunciation of your name. Why should I direct solder motors instead of using connectors? Does it matter that much? I assume you're talking about on a Whoop. Yeah, the direct solder has lower resistance. You'll get more power to the motors, and sometimes the connectors flake out and start to get loose and don't make good connection. It also saves a tiny bit of weight, although not that it really matters. Where would you recommend I buy parts for my first 5-inch 6S build? Which US site has the best prices? All of the sites have basically the same pricing. None of them have significantly better pricing than the others. Like, obviously, I'm not sitting here doing a detailed check. Like, if you're searching for a specific product, sometimes you can save 5% here, 5% there. Sometimes you get a coupon or something. But in general, the pricing is very consistent between the stores. There are 3 major stores: Pyrodrone, Race Day Quads, and Get FPV. Race Day Quads and Get FPV are actually owned. They were separate stores. Then Get FPV bought Race Day Quads, so now they're two separate websites, but they basically are the same store, same customer service, same back end. Not the same inventory, weirdly. Sometimes there are items that are on Race Day Quads, but not at Get FPV or vice versa. So I don't know what the deal is with that. But those are your basic choices. There are smaller vendors, like We Bleed FPV sells Whoop stuff and is a great store. Fly High FPV. Fly High FPV I don't even think is a real store. What I mean by that is I think Fly High FPV is just sort of drop shipping from these other stores. Fly High FPV, if you're sometimes in the chat, if I'm like way off base about this or I'm misrepresenting you, speak up and tell me. Yeah, Blunty.
He had stock of O4 Pros somehow. No store's going to give him that, right?
Maybe. Okay. I've heard of people. So I've heard of people buying from Fly High FPV and then they get their product and it's in a Race Day Quads box. And I also know that there is this program that Shopify has where you can set up a Shopify store where your product listings are like if I'm Get FPV or I'm actually Get FPV doesn't use Shopify. Race Day Quads uses Shopify. If I'm Race Day Quads, I can tick a box and say that other people can drop ship from my store. And then another person like say it was me, fpvknowitall.com. I set up a Shopify store and I go pull products from Race Day Quads inventory and they show up in my store as if they were my products. And then when people buy them, they get drop shipped and I get a percentage. That's a thing that I know exists. And I was of the impression that Fly High was doing that. Now they may also have, what's that?
I think you're talking about Rect.
Is that Rect? Have I mixed them up?
Yeah.
My bad. Fly High FPV, I apologize for slandering you. I went into this not sure that I was right. Okay, Rect, you're right. I'm thinking of Rect. Rect is a drop shipper. Fly High has inventory. Apologize. I blame this fine vodka that I've been drinking. No, I just blame my bad memory. Great, thank you for straightening that out for me, guys. So Fly High FPV, good store, small store, has stuff. Yeah. So, Race Day Quads. Sorry, Rotor Riot has some stuff, mostly focused on their stuff. So, but if I got to tell you, if I were shopping for my first build, I would probably be shopping at Pyrodrone, Race Day Quads, or Get FPV because they are most likely to have stock. They just have a much larger inventory and much more money. They're most likely to have stock and they're most likely to have the variety of things that I want. Small, like Fly High FPV is a massive benefit to the community and deserves your support. I might go look there, but chances are that Fly High has less inventory than like Pyrodrone. And I might not be able to get everything I want. So. Leo says, the Meteor 75 Pro has better motors. It's written in the specs. Hey, Leo, when you ask me for advice and I give you my advice, don't argue with me. Don't argue with me. You asked for my advice. I've flown both of those drones, and also I'm stealing the advice of Aaron Ciotti, who flies a lot more micro drones than I do. When I flew the Meteor 75 Pro, I thought it didn't fly that great. And then I talked to Ciotti and he was like, oh yeah, no, it doesn't fly great. It's too big. Those big props aren't well suited to the motors. So I told you my advice and then you're like, well, it has better motors. It's written in the specs. Oh, my bad. I didn't realize that it was written in the specs. You do what you want to do. Honestly. It's written in the specs. Oh, well, if it's written in the specs, then I take back everything I said about my real life experience. Okay. You asked for advice. Here's the thing, Leo. At the very least, you could say, what you said was, well, the Meteor 75 Pro has better motors. It's written in the specs. What you could say is something like, I mean, Beta FPV says the Meteor 75 Pro has better motors, though. Are they not well suited to the props? Like, Is that true? I'm surprised to hear that. Like Leo, lots of times people tell me things and in my head I'm thinking, that's full of shit. You're full of shit. That's bullshit. I don't believe you. And you know what I do? I get my face straight. And I try to say something respectful. Like, oh, that's really weird. I thought they improved the motors on that one. Really? You've flown it and you think it flies bad, huh? Yeah, I've never flown it. But I was looking at the specs and it seemed like that's weird. I try to get my face straight and not let on that what I'm thinking inside is, you're full of shit. I usually fail, but I try. You failed. Okay. Questions. Got a super chat here from Cato Campion. 2500 CLP. I'm new in the FPV world and I'm torn between the Vapor G5 or paying the extra $150 to $200 for the Nazgul. I would not pay $200 for the Nazgul over the Vapor. The Vapor G5 is a fine drone. Absolutely save that money and get the GEPRC Vapor G5. Or just wait for the Avata 3. That's something different. The Avata 3 is a whole different animal. It's not like an FPV freestyle drone. We're 10 minutes from the end of the stream. I've gotten loose. I've gotten popping off. Oh. Race FPV says, I'm trying to start my own drone FPV component company, but tariffs going from 30% to 200% to 40% to 100% to 40% to 55% to 55% unless it's a Sunday, in which case it's 75% unless it's 300% if you don't give me exactly what I want. Oh, you're not going to give it to me? Oh, I guess it's 50% again. Kills any chance of it being sustainable. What do I do? Give up? Quit? I don't know, man. Welcome to the freaking world. When the tariffs are low, order shit. And when the tariffs are high, pray that you can pay the rent. Don't start your own drone FPV component company. It's a terrible idea. If you really want to sell FPV components in the United States today, then do what Rotor Riot's doing. And I know you guys are there are people who are going to be like, Rotor Riot's selling to the military. Rotor Riot's selling to the government. They're ruining the hobby. They're killing babies and puppies and I don't like them. And I get that. And although I sound like I'm like making fun of you, I guess I kind of am. But I understand why they're doing what they're doing. And why they're doing what they're doing is they want to make money. And that's not like an inherently bad thing. If you want your company to stay alive and survive, you have to make money. Well, I would rather go out of business than sell to the military and murdering children and puppies. Okay, go out of business. I respect that. I do. I'm doing a little bit of a bit for the live stream, but if I met somebody and they said, you know what? I was an FPV hobby store for 10 years. It started to dry up. I had the opportunity to go after some government contracts. I just wasn't comfortable, doing it. And I closed up shop and I went out of business. I'd be like, hey, you know what? You got principles. I respect that. I don't necessarily agree with you, but I respect somebody who has a belief, who has a principle, and who stands by it. I wish you the best. But if I meet somebody and they say, look, I make FPV drone components and the FPV hobby is drying up, and I saw the opportunity to sell some motors, some flight controllers to the U.S. government, and keep my lights on and pay my employees, and maybe make a little bit of profit. Maybe get a chance to go down to St. Croix and drink some of this fine vodka with that extra money I'm making. I respect that decision too, So if you seriously are in the United States and you're making drone components, figure out how to manufacture components in the United States with as little importing as possible, and then go after government contracts. And then once potentially you can sell some stuff to the hobbyists too. That is an option. and it's going to sidestep a lot of the tariff problems. Now, like that's like, okay, I'll just figure out how to manufacture motors and flight controllers in my spare time. You still have importing problems. You still have tariff problems because you're not importing motors, but now you're importing magnets. You're not importing flight controllers, but now you're importing chips and PCBs. You still have the same problems, but at least it's on the wholesale raw materials instead of the retail. And potentially you import a whole bunch of magnets and you make a bunch of motors and then you sell it to the government for a ridiculous markup because that's how you do.
Yeah. The other thing, like, I'm not sure how real the question is, but if you're actually asking this question, the other problem is that, like, capitalist speaking, like, normally you're going to be competing with other big companies, right? That's how this works. So you're a small company and you're trying to get into an industry where there's other big companies trying to do similar things, right? So you're going to find a niche. But you're trying to do that on top of having variable prices without a basic income, like revenue stream to pad the difference in income, right? So that's to me, that's the biggest issue here. Is like, if you want to start a small business in a lot of industries, that's possible. But in this one, it's really hard, anything tariff related, because you don't have the room to pad. Like, you don't have overhead sitting there to pad. Like, that's your business. You're starting a business, right? Like, so unless you have a magical venture capital that's got a bunch of money that wants to dump on your project, like, you're just going to lose when you get hit with a 200% tariff instead of 30% when you weren't expecting it and you can't sell that product, right?
And it sucks for everybody, and it sucks for like, pity the poor Get FPVs and Pyrodrones of the world with their millions of dollars of revenue every year. I don't know what their profit is on that revenue. I think it's safe to say they do millions of dollars in revenue every year. But even a big player like them gets totally effed in the A, keep it family friendly, when you order a product and then between the time you ordered it and the time it's manufactured and delivered, suddenly there's 100% tariff. And now you can't afford to import the product. And so either it sits in a warehouse waiting for the tariff to go away, or you suck it up and pay twice as much for it. But the large companies have some ability to weather this. They have the ability to buy when the tariffs are low, and or buy larger quantities, and or just sit with an empty warehouse paying the bills from their cash reserve, which isn't a good position to be in. But a small company has no buffer to weather these storms. It's very hard to do what you're trying to do. And that's the world we live in. Sucks. Anyway,
I'll just say the other thing to know here is, like, if you're going to be successful, there's two routes. One is the military route you're talking about, and the other is get really, 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 really involved in the hobby and every single thing we do. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you make an open source, like a semi-open source project, or if you make like a community project where you're like building flight controllers and you show the whole process and you like start sponsoring races and like there's ways you could do it, right, to build in a hey, we'll spend $10 more on this product. But it's hard. It's an uphill battle, and it's risk the whole way. So just understand that. That's what
look at what 533 has done, right? 533 has done now 533 makes original products. They make frames, mostly. They make some motors. They have some motors. But the 533 store benefits from the fact that Evan Turner is incredibly involved in the FPV community. He runs races. He himself is a top-tier world-class racer, and he understands the market. He's recognized by the community. People buy from the F533 store in part because they want to support him. And he's very smart about the products he makes. Like, he makes frames, and he has motors that are manufactured, right? But he stayed out of things like flight controllers and ESCs, and he's like, no, I'm gonna buy those, and somebody else is gonna make those. And I think he's been reasonably successful at doing what he's doing. If you said, I want to make flight controllers, yeah, that's hard. We got a few more super chats, and we're gonna finish up the stream. Are we done with Speedybee since the OX firmware default? Thank you for $2. I don't know what that means. Blunty, do you know what that means? What's the OX firmware default?
I don't. Maybe chat can tell us.
Chat, do we have any idea what this guy's talking about?
If he's saying like, hey, they're shipping with OX32 now versus AM32, maybe that's the statement.
What's OX32, Blunty?
That's the alternative open source.
I've never heard of this.
32-bit. Oh no, it's not open source, right? It's just alternative.
What is OX32? I've never heard of this. Literally.
It's new.
Why am I just now hearing of this? Why am I just now hearing of this?
I don't know. Oxbot? You heard of that? Oxbot?
Nope, never heard of it.
Okay.
ESC. New 32-bit ESC firmware. The fuck is this? Wow, how about that? Tested by 10 motors. Wow. And 80 pilots. Well, I guess that's better than nothing. Oh, I did hear about this. Yeah. I did hear about this. I just forgot.
I've heard good reports. A lot of people are saying like it's weird how close it is to BLHeli-32, but obviously could also be made to look that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's what it does under the hood that really matters.
Quite a few people in chat vouching for OX32. So
I think I heard about this. Maybe I'm confusing something else. Huh. So is it closed source? Can you just flash it on anything? Can I just flash it on my 32-bit ESC, or do I have to buy the ESC with it on there? Interesting. I gotta look this up. I gotta learn more about this. I wasn't really aware of this. No. I wouldn't reject the Speedybee flight controller because it comes with OX32. Apparently OX32 is okay. And, AM32 is not perfect by any means. So it's nice to have an alternative.
It's closed source only on partner ESCs, like with the company.
So you can't flash it.
Yeah, I think similar BL32, basically BL32.
I'm okay with that. All right. Cool. I am planning to buy the Pavo 20 Pro O4 set at 60% throttle after 50 hours of liftoff. Is it a good idea? I mean, after 50 hours of liftoff, you shouldn't need a throttle curve. I think you'll be okay. Carlos Skowski. I think you'll be okay, man. You don't need a 60% throttle. You'll be fine. Thank you for $5 from OIP Studio. I was planning to start an FPV business using DJI G3s and an O4 air unit drones. How do you think this ban will affect me if I was to expand due to success? I think you'll find it increasingly difficult to get hold of DJI G3s and O4 air unit drones. Now, I think you can continue to use them. Here's the other problem if you're doing it as a business. Once you get to the point where you're dealing with like big companies, they will eventually you'll meet somebody who like wants you to be fully legal and have insurance and everything. And at that point, like if all I was doing was like inspecting somebody's roof or doing something for a realtor or maybe doing a fly through of a local restaurant or bar, I wouldn't really give a shit. I mean, I probably should have insurance, but if I was using a DJI drone that had its FCC certs pulled, I'd probably just, send it and, hope for the best. But at a certain point, your business will get to a point where you'll want to make sure you've ticked all the boxes legally. And if they pull so they've talked about not just prohibiting future DJI products, but the administrator of the FAA proposed the possibility of giving the FCC, not the FAA, giving the FCC the ability to pull previously granted certificates retroactively. If they were to do that for the O4 and the G3, then those products would not be legal to use in the United States. And as a business owner, I would have to at least consider the implication of that, whether perhaps there would be some kind of an effect on my insurance or my liability. And maybe the answer would be, nah, it's no big deal. Just do it. I mean, but I'm not sure. I'd have to at least think about that. So, like, the thing is, if you were to buy a set of goggles 3 and 4 or 5 drones right now, probably you'd get a few years of use out of them before you destroyed them. I don't know. It depends on what kind of work you're doing. Maybe you're going to crash like, how often do you plan to replace your drones? If you're chasing cars, you're going to crash them and you're going to be replacing them constantly. Like, no matter how good you are. Yeah, Blunty.
I also think it's realistic that you're just going to be able to order an O4 anyway. Somebody's going to ship it to you in a box not labeled as O4, and you're going to be able to buy it. I really think that's the case.
I think that's more likely for... I think the goggles are going to be the tricky one because there's no disguising the goggles. The O4 is like, oh, is this a DJI product? Like, it's not like it's a Mavic. Customs, I think the air units will slip through customs, even if they're prohibited. The goggles, I think, is going to be harder to slip them through, although probably still possible. The other thing is I think you will find it easier to buy bind and fly drones with O4s in them and import those because, it's just a drone. It's not a DJI drone. It's a walk snail drone. It's a flywoo drone, right? It's a Caddx drone. It's a beta FPV drone. The fact that it's got a DJI air unit in it, I think, is likely to slip through customs, even if they're looking for it. I think the goggles are going to be the tricky one. But, like, if you're determined, you probably could get them into the country, but just you're doing kind of shady shit at that point. So, all right. Got one more. Is the DJI V2 still worth it to buy? No, do not buy. The DJI V2 works with Vista air units and O3 air units. Those are not manufactured anymore. You literally cannot buy a new air unit that works with the V2 goggles anymore. Now, you can find them used, but I don't know if I'd want to put myself in that situation. Blunty, am I off base there? What do you think? Have I missed something? Chat?
If they're cheap, I think it's worth it. But they got to be pretty cheap because your next option up is the N3 at $229, and those can fly new.
The N3 goggles, $229.
But they are an option to get in pretty cheap.
What are you going to do?
You
can you?
I mean, if you're trying to you're already buying V2s, I guess is what I'm saying, right? Like, I'm sure you can find somebody selling
DJI O3 brand new, $350, $316, $330, paying $300 for a DJI O3 from China, and potentially you're going to get hit with a tariff as it comes in. So that's another 55%. There's no world in which I would pay that. No way. Complete DJI O3 air unit. What's that? Check sold listings? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Buy it now. Here's buy it now. How do I check sold listings? Auction.
There's a way to click.
Condition? No. How do I check
I don't
sold
ever use
listings?
eBay, but I know there's a way to click it.
Show only sold items. Completed listings. Parts only not working. $265 for a pre-owned. $50. Something's up with that one. Complete $261, $265 in the United States. Okay, so $275 in the US. That's only going to go up. I don't think so. I don't like it.
They can do analog. They have DVR. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's tough. Maybe you're going to get them in a bundle with a couple of VTXs. I don't know. Just know what they can do, I guess. That's the best thing, is just understand what you're getting. Like, understand what they're compatible with,
Sold items, okay. Somebody paid $360 for
Certainly.
the V2 goggles.
Certainly, there's no world in which you should be paying
no,
150 is probably too much.
Absolutely. This guy got absolutely ripped. This guy got absolutely ripped off. Absolutely ripped off. $360. Absolutely ripped off. Unless, the only reason you should have paid this much for these is if you have a fleet of 20 quads and they all have Vistas in them and you broke your V2s. But even then, I can get a goggles Integra. Okay, $365. I can get a goggles Integra for $365. Sold items. Goggles 3, G2, motion combo. DJI O4 parts, never mind. G2, G3. Come on, show me an Integra. Nobody's selling an Integra. Yeah, Integra motion combo, free shipping, refull subscription, $250. I feel like anybody paid $360 for a V2 goggle got absolutely ripped off. Somewhere around $150 is maybe where it starts to make sense to buy the V2. But even then, you got to think about how you're going to get. Where am I going to find Vistas? Naked Caddx Vista, $125. Caddx Vista, gently used, $120. Maybe. But it's just so iffy. It's so iffy. I'm going to be scrounging eBay, and I don't know how I feel about it. There's a lot of them for sale on eBay. This looks like all the same. This guy just has a bunch of them. I see. Big Notes. So I would buy the V2 goggles for $150 or less, and I would clean out Big Notes and buy like 10 Vistas from him. You know? Anyway. But I probably would try to. I'll probably just. I don't know how I feel about that. I save a little money, but I've just made myself a big hassle going forward. I don't know if it's worth it. You keep repeating the question, so I'll acknowledge your question. For the one-way drones, do they overcharge the lithium-ion cells to 435 for extra range? I have no idea what they are doing with the one-way drones. Do they overcharge the drones? I mean, it makes sense. I see what you're getting at. If I didn't care about the life of the battery, I would. Here's what I would do. If I was going to do that, I would get a bunch of batteries, because like probably you're not just buying batteries onesie twosie. I would put the batteries somewhere safe, and I would overcharge them, and I would test how high I could overcharge them before one of them lit on fire. And I'll bet I would get up to 4.4 volts, maybe a little higher. And I would test them, and I would see if I overcharge them, do they like fall out of the air? I would establish how high I could overcharge those batteries while still getting the results I wanted to get and having the safety I needed to have. And then that's what I would charge them to. And that'll give longer flight time, obviously. And if it's a one-way flight, then it doesn't matter how long your battery lasts, right? So, yeah. I don't know. You asked, do they overcharge the cells? I have no idea what they do. But that makes sense that if you didn't care about longevity and you cared a lot about range, then you would overcharge the cells. So. All right, guys. Any other questions that are so interesting I cannot pass them up? Chef Bruno says, as a new pilot, Blunty, don't queue any more questions. I'm just going to get a few more out of the queue. I'm flying. The queue is closed. It's 10 minutes after 10 o'clock. I'm flying all factory default rates on everything until I figure out what I like. Is this a bad idea? Your rates should be the same on all your quads, if possible, to give you consistent muscle memory. For PIDs, it should be defaults are fine. Oh, haha. It's because of my shirt. Yeah, no, my shirt's just a gag. I wore this shirt through an airport once. One of my friends was like, that's a bold move. I didn't even realize. I went on a trip. I packed some shirts. It was a drone-related trip, so I brought this shirt as a gag. And then at the end of the trip, this was the last T-shirt I had clean. So I just put it on, and I went to the airport. And my buddy was like, you're wearing that through the airport, huh? I was like, oh, I guess I am. Oh. Why not a unibell motor in your build kit, your beginner build kit? Money. Unibell's more expensive. We're trying to save money. I have a Bardwell F4 AIO flight controller without TX6. Can I remap LED pad to use smart audio? Yes. Remap LED strip as soft serial. Use that for smart audio. You'll be good to go. Is there a tool out there that takes a black box log and shows a frequency versus throttle chart, but with the filters and delay? Yes. PID toolbox is what you're asking for. I'm 99% sure it does what you're asking for. PID toolbox. PID toolbox. That's what you need. That software. I think it's right now. I think he's changed it, so you have to. I think the old version is still free on GitHub, but the newer version, nope. You got to join the Patreon to download it, but it's well worth it. It's not expensive, and he puts a lot of work into it. So I don't really. I mean, obviously, it's his tool. He can do what he wants with it. Do I support Pit Toolbox Guy? I really should. I should support the Pit Toolbox Guy. Boom. Alrighty. None of the above. All right, guys. That's going to bring us to the end of the stream. I know that I just got back. I just got back from my trips and my not streaming. And I hate to say this, but next weekend I will not be streaming. But I will be back the 9th, Sunday the 9th. I'll be back Sunday the 9th and the 16th and the 23rd. So for a lot of November. So, that's it. See you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody.